哋今日過嚟，真係真心多謝嘅，係 thank you。咁就今次點解有啲活動咧？就係因為我哋有兩個我哋嘅廠家啦，咁啊加埋有3個牌子，咁係有啲 upgrade 嘅，同埋啲新嘅產品。咁一個咧就係我哋嘅線材啦，就係Clarus 啦，同埋 Tributaries。咁啊啲線咧見到喺前面嘅。咁一陣間咧，我會請老闆出嚟啦。咁另外咧就係有一個 Fur Module 波蘭 Fur Module。咁佢有個好話題嘅作品啊，又係一個 DAC 咧。佢出咗之後咧，我哋半年都冇得賣嘅，有個 version 叫 Golden Sun 嘅 Edition。咁啊，終於我哋而家可以賣啦。咁就我哋擺咗佢喺呢度。咁佢有啲新嘅 feature。咁我一陣間咧都會請老闆出嚟介紹下究竟有啲咩發生咗，同埋同大家之前試過或者玩過嘅有啲咩唔同嘅分別嘅。咁就我而家請阿 Joe 出嚟同大家見個面先。Hello Joe, most media here.
Yes.
嗱，佢就係Tributaries 同埋Clarus 線廠嘅 founder 叫做阿 Joe。咁就1991年開始做線，咁佢公司咧有超過50個嗰啲專利去做線，咁變咗係好多嘢係冇得抄。Joe, can you tell us what your new products about your new products, Clarus, Tributaries, Mark II cables?
Yes, of course. So our Mark II cables are a new addition to our line, and what we've done with our Mark II cables is we have now improve the connectors for all our products.
佢有呢一個新嘅插頭啦，咁我唔知呢度俾唔俾到大家睇啦。呢一個咧係 Clarus 嘅 RCA cable， 咁主要係 update 咗嗰個插頭。
Yes. So for instance, this is the RCA connectors, and what we've done to improve them is the type of copper that we're using on our connectors is now tellurium copper for the center posts and beryllium copper for the ground side.
中間咧而家係用咗呢一個叫做鋰金屬做中間嗰個 positive 嗰個位嘅。咁佢其實有同我講話呢一個金屬係好硬嘅，咁變咗插落去嗰度咧會嗰個 connection 會好好，同埋傳導高。
Yes, the copper by itself is very soft, but adding tellurium to the copper makes it very hard. So you have a good solid connection. Beryllium copper has a spring to it and a good memory. So the ground plane is beryllium copper, so that when it's connected in, it opens and then closes down and gets a good solid ground connection.
係補充翻啦，就係咧，佢原意就係話銅咧本身係好軟身嘅，咁就變咗嗰個connection 冇咁好，咁所以今次咧就升級咗用呢一個鋰金屬做中間啦，而外邊咧係皮金屬，咁因為皮金屬嗰個 memory 好好，即係嗰個記憶性啊，咁當你插入個插頭嗰陣咧，入咗去咧，跟住佢就會罩得緊。
In the balanced cable, the balanced connectors, the center pins are also tellurium copper. However, on the negative side, on the female side, the pins are beryllium copper because that's the spring. But it's hard to see maybe, but there are 3 pins in the balance connector, pin 1, pin 2, and pin 3. Pin 1 is the ground connector. It is forward. Pin 2 and pin 3 are recessed. They're back. So pin 1 is forward, pin 2 and 3 are back. And the reason we did that is because when you connect it, pin 1 will always connect first. So the ground connects before the signal. So this protects the speakers in case you plug this in while the amplifier is turned on, boom, on the speakers. But with this configuration, that can't happen. Pin 1 will connect first, and then the signal. And also, if you disconnect, then the signal disconnects first and then ground last.
咁所有我哋叫公插嗰邊咧，因為佢係直接插落部機度，硬身嗰邊咧都係用呢一個低金屬嘅。咁但係啦喺乸插呢邊咧，因為佢都係咁樣去接頭啦，咁就變咗係用皮金屬嘅。咁佢都特別提到咧，因為偏1、偏2、偏3咧，我哋嗰個關咧行線咧，咁佢嗰個插頭咧都係關嗰個插頭係前啲嘅，咁就叫做插線嘅時間咧係唔會係熄落行先，關行先就可以保護到啦，唔會嘣啦咁樣。
So those are the RCA and the balance line, and then also our new connectors for the banana plug, the BFA, is beryllium copper. And we use the beryllium copper because the BFA connector, when it closes, it's plugged in, it closes, and then it springs back. So it makes a nice connection inside. And it's 360 degrees with full connection all the way around on BFA. So that's that. And then also on the spade lug, the new spade lugs on Type 2 are a 2-piece spade lug. So they're connected in the back but not in the front. So when you're tightening down for the speaker, they're pushing back. So it makes a nice firm connection in the speaker.
佢有個新嘅 BFA 招插啦，咁啊唔好意思，我哋暫時得呢一個。咁同埋有一個新嘅叉插，咁都係新 design 嘅，新嘅 design 全部都係可以做到更加好嘅接觸啦。咁就我而家呢度 show 唔到出嚟啦。咁但係譬如呢個叉插啦，佢係新嗰個咧係會彈開嘅，咁變咗你收喇叭插嗰陣咧就會越收越緊。咁同埋有個反彈力啦，就係令到嗰個接觸會再好啲。
They have a couple of questions for you.
問下問題。
If you had to pick one, for
Oh,
example,
which cable?
which cable would you recommend?
High cable.
I would say the power cable.
Same as you.
Was that the right answer?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Same as you.
Yes, the power
Good.
cable. The power cable, I'm going to say always, but most of the time, it makes the biggest difference. Also, it shocks the customer. It shocks the customer who's using it. Many people don't believe that a power cable will make a difference. And when they hear it, they're so surprised.
Yeah.
So it produces the biggest change, the biggest difference for the consumer. And because that happens, then the consumer thinks, if the power cable can make that much difference, what about the audio cable? Then the speaker cable, and then the consumer gets educated and gets smart and then improves their system with the better cables. I know that's a lot.
So,
I'm sorry.
which kind of material for your conductor for your cable? Silver or copper? Maybe.
Copper for audio cables. Silver for digital cables. When I started Tributaries, we had a silver-plated copper speaker cable and audio cables. And our customers would buy them and they would come back later and say, it's very bright. At first it sounded really good, but over time, it's very hard to listen to it many times. It becomes hard to hear. We call it tedious. It's not easy. Silver tends to be too bright. And my theory on this is that in metallurgy, when you take two different metals and you put them together, copper and silver, at the boundary between the two, there's something that happens called galvanic effect. And there's a voltage that it develops it's because the mixing of the electrons on the two different the two elements mix. And there's a voltage that gets developed. And that voltage has some effect on the musical signal that's passing through it, and it produces a edginess, a distortion. And I think it really it irritates the ear over a period of time. But for digital cables, we're operating at very high frequencies. We coat the copper, we plate the copper with solid silver. Now, silver has a conductivity increase of about 15% over copper. So at high frequencies, because of skin effect, the signal tends to be on the outside of the conductor. Well, that's where the silver is. And the silver is thick enough that the silver is thick enough that the signal is flowing only in the silver. And because the silver has higher conductivity, there's less loss. So now we get more signal through that and less distortion, better sound. So we use silver in our digital cables only. Now we also use some silver on our shielding of the audio cables and the digital cables. We use silver-plated copper because that is the ground return, of course, and that's also where we're pulling outside interference into the shield and pulling it to ground. So the silver helps us do that more efficiently also.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.